I'm going to say this once for the bigots in the back. Blindly supporting a draft-dodging criminal wannabe despot is the most un-American thing you can do. It's not patriotic. It's just a way to funnel your racism through other outlets. Dyze in your house. Exclusively on East Coast Radio. The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are that of my own and are not of my employer.
Nobody likes me. Nobody likes me. But that's okay, cause I don't like y'all anyway. And I don't like y'all anyway.
We have until November of 2020 to get our act together as a country, as a nation, to correct this injustice. And the biggest injustice in the world was allowing a foreign power to install a criminal into the White House and turn an administration into a fascist crime syndicate. That must be corrected. And we only have there's only one more election we have to correct it, or this whole thing is over.
If you don't know what Staten Island is, it's like New York's abortion that lived.
I never met any of the founding fathers, but I'm sure if they were listening to East Coast Radio right now and brand new episodes of Dyze in Your House, they would agree with the sentiment. And you could follow us on Twitter at East Coast Radio. Get us on Patreon at East Coast Radio. Vote. Blue Wave 2020. Let's make it happen. East Coast Radio for the least heard voices. Every weekend. We here on East Coast Radio are trying to fight the rising tide of fascism.
The noun fascism is usually defined as a governmental system led by a dictator having complete power, forcibly suppressing opposition and criticism, regimenting all industry, commerce, etc., and emphasizing an aggressive nationalism and often racism.
Yeah, we don't want any of that in America. So we gotta stop it. We gotta put out the fire now. Staten Island boys are no joke. As liberals, not even as liberals, as Americans, as patriots, as people that like democracy. The only thing we can do right now to fix our country is use our weapons. And our weapons are our voices, our handmade signs, and social media. Get the message out there. Voting. Voting is key. Elections have consequences.
If you don't know what Staten Island is, it's like New York's abortion that lived.
Representing Staten Island.
Staten Island was no joke.
Hey, yo. Who's in the house? Dyze in your house. What is the word, peeps? What goes on? It is the weekend, Sunday to be in fact. I am Jay Porks. We are back here on East Coast Radio with another action-packed edition of Dyze in your house. You might be asking yourself what this podcast is. Well, it is a vehicle that I use to help people like me, understand the importance of voting, especially this time around. We need to, as a nation, come together and remove the danger that sits at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. The growing risk that the American people are in every day that this clown remains in power. And we need to get out there and vote. And we need to do more than just rock the vote, as they used to say. They used to say, hey, rock the vote. We got to do more than that. We have to overwhelm the vote. We have to exhaust the vote. We have to leave no room for error, no margin for error, no room for a hostile foreign power to install a fascist crime syndicate at the top of our government. We can't have that. American values are not the same as authoritarian dictatorships. Democracy is not fascism. Democracy is free and fair elections. And fascism is what happened before, like, the Holocaust happened. Before things like World War II happened. That's fascism. If you need more of a definition on fascism, hey Google, what is fascism?
According to Wikipedia, fascism is a form of far-right, authoritarian ultranationalism characterized by dictatorial power, forcible suppression of opposition, and strong regimentation of society and of the economy, which came to prominence in early 20th century Europe.
Okay, so what that tells me, first of all, that was not a list of American values at all. Secondly, like, when you hear the term far right, like, that's really far right. I'm talking regular, everyday Americans, like Republicans. Like, I don't. They could be normal, but there are the vocal people who vocalize their support for conservative politics these days. The vast majority of them are trumpets, and they blindly follow somebody that wants to be like Vladimir Putin, like Erdogan, like Kim Jong-un, like Xi Jinping, like, you know, the people, authoritarian dictators who are, you know, kings, basically. Not kings, but dictators. You know what that is. We can't, that's not America. America is, and listen, this is not a college class. You know what I'm saying? If I mention to you checks and balances, that is not something that you need to have gone through several years of school and gotten several hundreds of $1,000s and accumulated hundreds of thousands of dollars of student debt. That is not information that you would need to do that stuff to obtain. That is 8th grade social studies. Now, if you weren't in 8th grade social studies, I would ask questions about, like, what problems were you going through in your life and such at the time where you didn't make it out of 8th grade. I personally didn't start cutting class until 9th grade, I don't think. I mean, high school is the point where you stop going to school, but I distinctly remember in 8th grade learning about checks and balances, learning that the president wasn't the person that makes all the rules, the president wasn't the person that has all the power, and the president wasn't the person that is above any of the rules. That's what I learned. Okay? That's what I learned, that's what you learned, that's the curriculum. Checks and balances. It's in the textbooks. So this idea that we think it's okay that we're letting a fascist crime syndicate, this wannabe authoritarian regime, run amok on the rule of law, that we allow that to happen because maybe, you know, we are under the impression that the economy might be doing better than it had been before, when in fact, technically, the stock market, 70% of Americans don't hold stock. So that's not an indication on how real Americans are doing. If you want to know how real Americans are doing, ask people with jobs. Ask people who work 40 hours a week if that's enough. Ask anybody in America if working 40 hours a week is enough. No matter what you get paid. No matter how good your job is. And this is, and let me just say this. The views and opinions expressed on my podcast are that of my own and not that of my employer. And let me just repeat. The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are that of my own. Jay Porks, Least Coast Radio. They are not of that of my employer. And I do not talk about my employer on this podcast. I had a good week at work. Next week's going to be an interesting week. This has nothing to do with my employer, but I mean, it does, but... So I'm going to do a week of working, like, overnight. So from when this podcast is being recorded, I am basically trying to stay up as long as I could. So I might pop on Twitter or or Facebook Live, wherever I can do like a live video, and I might do that and just hang out with you guys for a little while. So if that's something you want, tweet at me at jporks. Let me know, hey Jay, yeah, I'm waiting for it. You know, because I'm trying to kill time. I need things to do. I don't have things to do to kill time. It's raining, so I can't walk and stuff. So I mean, I could, but I don't really have a proper raincoat and stuff. And, you know, listen, that's another reason to vote. You heard, like, a little me being stupid there for a second, but, like, I swear, this podcast used to be funny. We used to tell jokes. We used to have a good time. We used to tell stories. You know, like, you know, live concert experiences, get my take on things, news of the week, stuff like that. We used to do that. We used to do a lot, an in-depth, fun podcast. Doing this podcast, I'm not saying it's not fun anymore because I love reaching people, but I'm saying that you as a listener probably aren't having as much fun listening to this podcast as you did, say, pre-2016 election. And for that, I'm sorry. You know, but I can't as somebody with a podcast. I can't as somebody with a voice. Just like how I'm not gonna not talk about politics on social media. I would just rather say 100 times that the views and opinions expressed on my social media and my podcast and everywhere are that of my own and not that of my employer. I will just continue to say that. You know, but other than that, like, I can't have these platforms and have, like, you know, people that follow me and I follow them. Like, I can't have people reading and not seeing that this is a real problem. You can't let this be normal. Once we let this be normal is when America's gone. We are at a breaking point here. We need to show the world that this is not what America is. This is an outlier. This is a bunch of Nazis went to the polls. Russian bots helped out on Facebook. Jill Stein, you know, helped by Russia, ran third party. Gary Johnson, another guy, he got a couple of percentage, but Jill Stein's the one that really stole the votes. Not stole the votes, but I'm saying got the votes over the swing state, the 3 swing states that we needed to take the presidency. The Electoral College is an archaic system that shouldn't decide our elections. But it is the system nonetheless, and that is why we need to overwhelm the vote. We need to all get out. We need to reach people who haven't voted, who don't vote. We need to reach those people that don't care, and we need to let them know why they need to care, why this affects their life. Because there aren't people that I know, because I don't know anybody in that bracket of wealth. There is nobody I know right now whose life is better off than it was pre-2016. There is nobody I know, and that is including myself. I know I may have, you know, I may be the most gainfully employed that I've been. But that was me. I did that. Because I needed to do that. Because I was swinging. I was in a corner. And I needed to get out. And I got out. And I did it. But that is not like, you know, you see jobs numbers and stuff. And these people, and yeah, it is because I live on Staten Island, like, these people they're sheep. The blind support of Trump. They see a jobs number. And they won't look at, like, past Obama jobs numbers, or Bush jobs numbers, or Bill Clinton. They won't look at any of that. None of that information matters. And it's either because people are really uneducated, or it's because they just want to find a new vehicle in which to funnel their racism. And listen, Baghdadi, congratulations to the military forces that did that. They're skilled professionals who are trained to do just this, and they take our tax dollars way more than they should, and they appropriate way more funding towards the military than anything else in this country. than other things that actually need that money. So those people, that branch of government gets the most money. They are the most well-funded and good. They accomplished a goal? Cool. Wow. You want a fucking cookie? You know what I'm saying? Can we get some military funds reduced now? Because we killed the guy, the leader of ISIS? You know, let's not mention the fact that, remember when we pulled troops out? This is literally a couple days ago. We pulled troops out and we let hundreds of ISIS fighters who were prisoner out. So, like, you know how Hydra, you watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., like, you know how they say you cut the head and, you know, a bunch more grow? Like, ISIS is not a country. They don't have elections. Yeah, you killed the guy you may have killed the guy calling the shots now. Or he may have been wearing a suicide vest or a suicide belt. You may have killed that guy now who may have been calling the shots. But, like, you'd think there's not other people calling the shots? I mean, they just got hundreds of new recruits who they don't have to train because they were already trained and captured. But because we brought troops home, those people left being captured. They walked out of the prison cells because they weren't being kept guarded anymore because we sent those troops home. And of course this clown demeans the United States military when he's sitting there during his fucking presser saying that Russia who supply ISIS and Al-Qaeda with weapons. Let's not get it twisted. Let's not pretend that that's not a thing. Russia supplies ISIS and Al-Qaeda with weapons. And he's claiming that Russia hates ISIS as much as the US does. That, I mean, I got this new thing where I stop paying attention to things when people start lying to me. Like, just clearly telling lies. And I wasn't paying attention anyway. But it's just we elect these people, and like, you wouldn't stay in a relationship with somebody that constantly lies to you, would you? Is that something you would do? Do you hate yourself that much? So yeah, as much as Baghdadi is let's clap the hands for the military, yay killing people, like, cool. But at the same time, what about those fighters that got loose? What about when Trump saved ISIS a week ago? What about that? Nobody's talking about that. Well, they are talking about it, just not on Fox News, also known as state media. Again, that's another thing. That's another thing that's dying under this fascist crime syndicate posing as an administration, under this fascist regime. Another thing that's dying is the free press. You're supposed to turn on the news, and you're supposed to trust that you're getting the truth. But instead, you have a news organization. Let's not get it twisted. The Fairness Act was repealed years ago. But that was a Roger Ailes-led thing. Let's get rid of let's elect people who will vote to get rid of the fairness doctrine, and therefore news will not have to be fair. And we can have opinion shows posing as news shows. And we can, you know, so the Fox News audience grows as my cat, sorry I got distracted, my cat jumped in my closet. And over years, as the Fox News organization grew into a propaganda organization, a propaganda news outlet for right-wing America, they've helped mold the minds of a decent amount of Americans, enough to go on social media and voice their opinions and troll me on the internet. I mean, and again, I'm not a debater. Like, I don't like to debate when we're talking about politics. Like, if we're talking about sports, or if we're talking about music, things I like, things you like, if we're talking about things like that, art, we can debate all fucking day. Like, listen, I'm a baseball fan. I'm a Yankee fan, okay? That sucked when we lost to the Astros. When the Yankees lost to the Astros, that sucked. I watched almost every game this season. I mean, you know, I switched between I was watching Maddow, and then I switched to I'd have the Yankee game, you know, on the MLB app or whatever, but split screen. Like, I watched every game this year. I followed the Yankees. Like, I love the Yankees. And, like, we were so close. And, like, we had it in our grasp. And a couple of bad pitches and a couple of runners left on base cost us a chance of going to the World Series. And we're not playing, and the Yankee season's over. Now, that sucked. You know? But it didn't suck in terms of, like, a fascist crime syndicate was elected. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't the end of democracy. So, like, I got over it. I mean, I'm already thinking about next year. Like, I'm already over it. I'm not sad and depressed about it. That's not... You know, so, like, I want to debate with people. Like, and sometimes I engage, but I try not to. But, like, you can't engage because that's what these people want. And half of them are Russian bots anyway. Half of them aren't even real people. They're Russian bots with 17 followers. Just trying to see what you're thinking so they can know what words, you know, trigger you and stuff like that and get you mad. Don't let it ruin your life. And I'm guilty of letting some of this shit really pour into other parts of my life. Like, that Staten Island politics group I'm in, that cesspool of ignorance. Like, I just saw my old boss is in that group, being all Trumpy bumpy. Like, oh my god. Like the guy who I quit on because when I went to go work as an educator and I needed Wednesdays off, he told me no and never to talk to him like that again. You know, never to get another job. So I'm gonna not troll him on purpose, but you know, it's just like a cesspool, this place I live, and I'm too deep into it. I'm doing what I could. I need you to do what you could. I need everybody to be all in with me on this. I really need you to be. It needs to be a concerted effort to get people, to get the 2018 voter turnout even more. Because we can't count on Republican senators coming around and realizing how crazy they are, how crazy they've been acting. We can't count on that happening. We need to understand that that's not a thing that's going to happen. So impeachment and removal is unlikely. So what we need to do is exhaust the vote. Get people who haven't voted. Make it known. Make your voice heard. Because no matter what you heard, your voice does matter. Your vote does count. And when you stay home, all you're doing is helping fascism rise